After enduring years of brutal bullying, Lee Gilsoo had reached his breaking point. His will to live had been shattered, and he no longer believed in change. When his parents finally discovered the extent of his suffering, they transferred him to a new school, hoping for a fresh start. But for Lee, it felt like a meaningless move. He expected nothing to be different. To his surprise, the new school greeted him warmly. When he introduced himself to the class, the students smiled, welcomed him, and even offered to show him around. One student in particular took the initiative to act as his guide and invited him to hang out after school. For the first time in a long while, Lee felt the faint stirrings of hope. However, things took a strange turn when he accidentally spilled juice on a known thug. Bracing himself for a violent reaction, Lee was shocked when the thug simply smiled and let it go. He thought perhaps this school really was different. But after classes ended, the student who had been kind to him earlier invited Lee to hang out, and he agreed. As they walked together further and further away from the school grounds, Lee began to feel uneasy. Eventually, they arrived at what looked like a hidden arena. There, Lee was told the truth. In this school, students had to fight to maintain peace and order. The arena served as the battleground to settle disputes and determine who remained under the school's protection. Everyone was expected to fight, or be left vulnerable to violence. Lee was then invited to fight the very thug he had spilled juice on. Still traumatized by his past, he refused. That decision had consequences. The next day at school, Lee was harassed and beaten by the thug and his gang. Without protection, no one came to his aid. Even after school hours, the beatings continued. At his lowest point, something inside Lee snapped. Years of suppressed hatred and pain came surging to the surface. In a sudden burst of rage and adrenaline, he fought back, beating off his attackers and fleeing straight to the arena. There, he entered the ring and challenged the thug once more. Though he was clearly outmatched and took a vicious beating, Lee refused to fall. Driven by raw emotion, he managed to land a sweet headbutt that stunned his opponent. He ultimately lost the fight, but it marked the beginning of a transformation. Lee Gilsoo was no longer the broken victim he once was. Subscribe for more. The name is King of the Arena.